Hey everybody, this is Carl back again, wrapping up the Friday movie trio. I already covered the first Friday movie, of course, all of them starring Ice Cube, who's had an amazing career as an actor, because, like, honestly, you know, it's one of those kind of things with, musical artist turn actor. It's kind of like the way, wrestlers like The Rock and John Cena, transition from just mere wrestlers to, actors, or even like sports athletes. It's one of those people that's like really done, like an amazing job. And now his son currently is, having like a good start in, you can say it's nepotism, but he's having like a good start in his acting career, because I think his first thing he did was playing his own father in the biopic on NWA musical group, and then more recently in the Kenobi series. But anyway, wrapping up the trio, we're covering Friday After Next. Technically a Christmas movie, but I'm covering it on Black History Month. But you can check out my review on the first Friday film, then the sequel, up on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkativecarl. Of course, now I'm thinking about it, I probably should had moving forward. I probably should start like putting my movie reviews on Twitch, so I can put it not only on YouTube but manually on my Odyssey channel, which is like a pseudo YouTube channel, just not as popular, because I want to make sure like I have like a extra outlet in case something, because the way YouTube's probably carrying on in the future, I need a backup plan. So you can check out my I recently set it up, not that recently, but recently-ish, set it up so that way you can check out my stuff there, in case something happens with YouTube, because pretty soon people are gonna be, all the people who use YouTube as a platform, it's gonna probably be scattered to the wind. So I have an outlet, so in case something happens here, you know where else to find me, as well as Twitch, of course. I'm primarily gonna be on Twitch, but anyway, Friday After Next, pretty much like a Christmas movie. In the previous two, there's rotating cast, but of course you got Ice Cube as Craig Jones. We got Mike Epps as Day Day, also playing like a crazy old man with a shotgun. We got John Witherspoon as his father, Willie Jones. Don Curry as Elroy Jones, the brother of Willie and uncle to Craig. We got the return of Anna Maria Hawesford as Betty Jones, Craig's mom, who didn't show up, never explained, but didn't show up, probably contractual obligations, I guess. I don't know. It didn't show up in the previous film, but she's returning here in the third film. We got Clifton Powell returning as Pinky, the former boss of Day Day. Terry Crews, in his first film debut, well, he showed up in other stuff as character roles with non-speaking kind of stuff, but this is like his first kind of like speaking credit role. He, if I'm remembering correctly, he actually was like a bodyguard for. If you look up, Terry Crews' like kind of history, he played football for a while, but then he met up with Ice Cube, as he kind of like be like one of his, like, I'm pretty sure he was like security for Ice Cube for a while. I could be wrong, but then thanks to Ice Cube, got him like kind of opened up the doors for him to pursue an acting career, and of course he's like a household name at this point. He's great on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which I highly recommend you guys check out the TV show Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It was like available for Hulu, but for some reason they took that down. So you can probably like just buy it off. If you don't get the DVD box set, you can just get it off of Amazon Prime. But I don't know why they took it off of Hulu. It's so weird. I love that show. It was one of my favorite shows, and he's amazing in it. Amazing, very funny. You got Ricky Smiley as a robber Santa Claus. The Queen of Comedy, Samore, playing Elroy's new girlfriend, Cookie. We got K.D. Albert as Donna. Oh, and speaking of, ironically, like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, you got Joel McKinnon Miller, who plays an officer, Alvin, who works with Terry Crews again in Brooklyn Nine-Nine as also a cast member. So I imagine how great it was for them to just see each other probably after so many years since Friday After Next, working alongside each other for a 8-year series. So anyway, this movie is directed by Marcus Raboy, who I guess primarily is like a musical director. He only did 2 movies, both of which were led by Ice Cube. You got Friday After Next is his first movie, and you can, I guess, if you watch the cinematography, that's why it's probably like the bottom tier Friday film, given the fact that the way certain things are, I won't say edited, but cinematography and it's just the way it's put together. It seems like a very long musical video, and that's why people look at the first 2 Friday films as superior to this. I'm so glad he didn't make any other movies, because even though people are has nostalgia for Friday After Next, still is lower tier. Anyway, this is centered on Christmas Eve on a Friday, where Craig, at this point, and which I kind of like, is one point towards this film. Well, yeah, towards this film, because it's actually showing some growth throughout the films, even though you never see like the sister since the first film. It was kind of funny. It's like like you got the return of the parents, you don't see the sister again, but you see some growth with Craig, where he actually got his own place, even though he lived with his cousin in an apartment. But it's like, yeah, you obviously can't have a third film. He's still with his parents, but now he actually has a job, short-lived as it is, because they got jobs as security guards. And it's kind of funny. It's like you start your, like, who starts a new job on Christmas Eve? Don't you find that honestly weird? It's like, who starts a new job on Christmas Eve? You would think, like, maybe right after the day after Christmas, you would probably start your brand new job, because by Christmas Eve, everybody's like too busy shopping and getting things together, and you wouldn't want like your new employees to just like start on Christmas Eve. It's kind of like, even though you probably won't be working that long of a day because everybody will be closing early, but still though, it's like, it's kind of odd to work on Christmas Eve, your day one. You would probably have them wait until the 26th. Anyway, you got them getting their house broken in that early morning by not even call him Santa Claus. Just call him Ricky Smiley, and he's breaking into their house, stealing all that stuff, including their rent money. Which, by the way, you'll think, if you ever had to pay a bill before, you want to get that handled right away instead of just stashing it somewhere to do it later. Especially if you hear scenes later about how they were dodging Miss Pearly, who collects the rent from all the tenants. You've been dodging for 3 weeks, and if you had the money, why did you not pay this woman right away and get it done? I just recently paid my cell phone bill because I paid, just a little insight into my life. I paid my phone bill on the 11th of every month, and it's like, it's very rare where I, it's like a day or two late. Very rare. It's only extreme circumstances. But it's usually like, like a forgivable thing. If you extend it beyond 3 days past the due date, then you get like an added charge for that, obviously. But, it's like, well, as soon as you have the money, of course, they're starting a brand new job, but like I said, they clearly had the stash of money before it was stolen. Why don't you just give it to them and be done with it? So you don't have that looming over your head. It's kind of like those, previous. It's always a money situations in these. The one constant in all three of these films is money issues. The first film, you gotta pay Big Worm, even though you had half the money. You could, sold the marijuana you needed in. If you couldn't do it in your own neighborhood, do it in the other neighborhoods that you've clearly visited while you was going to the store to get the rest, and been done with that. Second film, it's like you already had the lottery money, you got the house, but now all of a sudden you gotta get extra money to keep the house for some reason. That's never fully explained. And now in this, you gotta have the rent money to so you won't be evicted. And it's like, you had it, why didn't you pay her right away that day that you got it, instead of letting it sit there the whole night? Anyway, Craig wakes up right in the middle of this robber eating their food in the middle. I'm no robber, and I've seen plenty of heist films in my day, and first of all, let's leave an evidence with fingerprints and everything like that. That aside, no movie has a robber just stopping in the middle of a crime to eat the food out of the house that they're robbing. I mean, I'm pretty sure there are. I'm just not thinking of any right now. But it's very dumb, especially if you don't want to leave any evidence. This shows how inept this guy is. But somehow he managed to get away from a lot of people up until the third act. So Craig tries to stop him. He's calling for help from Day Day, who is clearly pretending like he's being asleep, but he ain't trying to he's too scared to come out and help his cousin. It's like, dude, your cousin asked him for help. Are you that scared to not jump in and help? It's like, my cousin's calling for help, I'm coming. It's like, why would you not answer your family's call for help if they're in a physical fight? Anyway, so their stuff gets stolen. A couple of hours later, the cops showed up. They explained the situation, even though it's cops, especially around that time, it's not taking black people seriously when they're the victims of crime. Ironically, things don't feel like they changed all that much over the years. But then Miss Pearly comes showing up and says my son Damon just got out of lockup, and if you don't, because they tell her we got Rob, but we start our new jobs today, and Later on tonight, we'll have your money in hand. And she points out, like, okay, you better, because if you don't see me with my money, my son's gonna come see you. Uh, and of course, it's played by Terry Crews, who's pretty much like a replacement Debo, because you gotta have like a big dude who's like an imposing threat. Uh, uh, and clearly, because he'd been inside for a long while, he had some homosexual. He hinted that he turned to a bit of not a bit. He clearly has uh, a sexual fondness for men. So here's the thing. Well, it was a point I was about to make about Miss Pearly. Crap, what was it? I just blanked on it. Oh, how you gonna have your, money to give to her that very night, and you just starting? Let's just say like the rent money around the time of the 90s. Let's just assume $300. Let's assume $300. Because you do eventually get that money back, and it's clear like a decent wad of cash. Let's say it's $300 tops, given it's like the well, not in the 90s. It's 2002, and let's just say that it was the case. You start your brand new job on Christmas Eve, no less, and you're expecting like a paycheck at the end of the day. You only worked a few hours, and let's just say, at most, considering your security guards and you being paid minimum wage, at the most, you're probably making in that day maybe slightly over $100 if you're being generous, and it's clearly not enough to satisfy the rent that you need to cover, so you won't get evicted and possibly assaulted by a guy. They could easily press charges on her for physical assault or whatever, But so they end up, after like a hilarious moment with Terry Crews, they head off to this what do you call those kind of store chains? Shopping center. The shopping centers. And you find out that the guy's fathers went to business together with using most of Elroy's money. They started like a business together, and Craig's dad quit his dog catching job. So they start this Brothers Barbecue restaurant. It's kind of like, well, if you're from Chicago, it's kind of like Harold's Chicken. But if you're not from Chicago, think of it as just like a local rib joint kind of thing. And it's like a hilarious commercial. You gotta see it for yourself, because the whole slogan is like, barbecue tastes so good, make you want to slap your mama. And they have their mothers show up in the commercial. I was like, hey, and you see John Witherspoon's like, hey mama, what you want, boy? And he slaps her. and Elroy's like, you're supposed to have been acting, Willie. Now she got a concussion. That part gets me. It gets everybody so tight. That's why, even though this movie is the lower tier of all the Friday films, it's still good moments out of this. It still makes you laugh. So that is just as iconic as like you got knocked the F out kind of situation. So they meet. And you got you get the new cast members like You got Cat Williams as this is the first time I ever known about Cat Williams. Didn't even know at the time he was like a comedian. But you got Cat Williams playing Money Mike, and of course, remember Pimps used to be a thing. Uh, uh, and you got Donna played by Katie Albert, who at this point in time, also is like a she's also of course an actress, fashion model and a singer, but she runs her own like record studio as well, which just surprised. Like I didn't know she ran a record studio. But anyway, they got like a clothing store. Money Mike, it runs in the shopping center, and of course you got the proprietor of the shopping center, the main guy. Because this other store is like a check cashing place and like a place that sells like car rims. But you got Mr. Moley, who runs a donut shop, who gets thanks to Craig's dad, using some like networking or whatever, has him hire the boys. So I'm not sure if this is cause of not jumping in when he optimistically you would think maybe the way Day-Day has been acting through the later half of the first act, get into the second act of the film, you would think him acting like drunk with power of just being like a glorified security guard. Of course, security guards back in the 90s and early 2000s weren't looked on as favorable jobs, but they're honest jobs. I think people mid 2000s up until present day with don't look down on security guards like they used to back in the day, because they're a respectable job. But Day-Day is kind of drunk with power at this point. He just got a whistle. Clearly security guards don't brandish weapons. Of course, we always make jokes back in the day like, oh, you just got a flashlight, you're rent-a-cops. But he is still drunk with power. So now he's like, oh, I can, do this and that. It's like I'm top flight security of the world, Craig. Not just the city, the world. And he's like, probably like, some bit of probably some insecurity or something like that, because he didn't step up when he needed, because he didn't bring that same energy earlier that morning when their place was getting robbed. So now at this point he's overcompensating. I kind of wish they kind of like merge those together to make it, because just on the surface it seems like he is like idiocy for idiocy's sake, instead of maybe like weaving into the narrative that he feels bad that he didn't jump in to help his cousin like he should have. So now that, oh, I'm security, now I'm going to overcompensate to make sure like I'm taking charge, nobody's going crazy on my watch kind of thing. But now Craig is spending most of the their work time wrangling his cousin, who's trying to household customers and these old ladies who was caroling at the shopping mall. So as they're he's taking him behind the store to smoke some weed just to calm him down, they once again get stuck up by Ricky Smiley, Santa Claus, once again failing to catch him. And then while that part is settling down, the old ladies earlier who Day-Day was hassling brings, I don't know what grandmother who would legitimately do this, because you're too old to act this way, but they bring their grandsons, assuming that they're grandsons, who clearly are thugs, to come pretty much beat up these two security guards. And this part is funny to me. I always point this out with people where, like, as soon as Craig was the first one to notice him, before he even like finished his sentence, like, ain't that they already taken off? It's like he was gunning it, and so they running all throughout, like, behind the stores, throughout neighborhood, and then before we get to that part, because they meet up with Money Mike after stopping some shoplifters, and Craig takes a moment to try to hit on Donna, who clearly is into him, and Data is immediately just jealous. Uh, 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 and they invite them to the Christmas party that they're throwing at their spot. They run around the area trying to avoid getting jumped on. They go into Money Mike's store and ask from them to hide them. So Donna takes them in the back, where they crawl through like a ventilation area that leads to the roof, and that's where they hide. And of course, they can't find them, so the thugs go and find Molly, and then because they know that he runs the place, like, and it beat him up, and as a warning to the to the security guards, and of course this is supposedly on their lunch break, and this occurs, and Molly goes into the brothers' barbecue where Craig and Dede are eating, because at this point in time they threw away their uniform button-ups, because it's like, this ain't worth it, because they're not putting their lives on the line for something like a security guard for like clearly like a dangerous neighborhood. Because if they would have kept going, at some point these guys would have came back and really like laid a hurting on these guys. So Molly shows up bruised, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, we're on our lunch break. Yeah, while you're on your lunch break, I got beat up. So he fires them, which is unjust, because, like, he knew they was going to be on that lunch break. It was by the time he walked away when the whole commotion even started. So, but clearly they was hiding. They already knew what was up. So, in retaliation for firing their sons, Mr. Jones calls the health department, because Molly's donut shop is clearly like, because it has a sign with a letter F, clearly failing the health codes. And it's like, if you got, I was playing of Bob's Burgers to know where if you got like that low grade from the health department, they would immediately shut you down. I don't know why you're open in the first place, because clearly their stuff is not up to code, and nobody shouldn't be eating there because you got flies flying about all over the place. So he's getting chased down by the health inspector, who clearly he's not fat, but he's clearly is muffin topping. So he's chasing him down regardless, because he's violating the health codes. Clearly he shouldn't be open, so clearly he's going to be answering to the authorities. So after like the bummer of a day they have so far, Craig has the brilliant idea of turning their party into a rent party, where all the guests comes in and kick in a little bit of money so they can pay for their rent for the month. And I'm not sure how many people even do rent parties this day and age, and even back then I can't fathom anybody like showing up to a party. You didn't even, the people you clearly invited to this party probably days ago wasn't initially a rent party. even if it was a established as a rent party from the get go, I doubt anybody want to show up. At least not that many. I don't care if it's like your close friends. You might get a little something here and there, but probably wouldn't be enough to cover your supposed rent. And it's like, Craig's dad pointed out to like Miss Pearlie, who's trying to like, because she has like a thing for him and try to hook up with him. It's a funny part where it's like, your son didn't make his rent this month. So how much do you really love your son? Not enough to pay his rent. It's like, I barely got time to pay my own rent. That part always got me. That was so funny and well delivered by John Witherspoon. God rest his soul. Uh, uh, but I can't imagine anybody else coming in and offering up whatever little money they even willing to put up with. You'd be lucky enough to make $50 to $70 at the end of the night, because it's like, yeah, there's a lot of people there, but how much did they really kick in? And plus, you end up getting your money back, so you clearly kept all the money as extra, cash flow. Clearly, you wasn't going to give that back. Why would anybody? I guess. But anyway, like I said, it's like, who has rent parties, whatever. So they got the party going. Cool musical soundtrack. Clearly because the director is primarily a music video director. But you got this massive party going on in this small-ish apartment. It was big enough, but it's like, you got like it almost felt like a club almost, because there's a lot of people here. But including like Damon, who showed up. But then Money Mike comes on and brings Donna along with him. Then you get the return of Pinky, and he brings some girls along with him in lieu of, because he's cheap, he wouldn't give up any money, but it's like, oh, I got something better than money. And he introduces these three girls. I forgot what the first girl's name is, because she's dressing, kind of like a skimpy, camo kind of outfit, almost like a little general. And then you got this other girl named Cinnamon, and then this other girl dressed in pink named Lollipop. And like, clearly, Pinky's like, no, Lollipop is mine. And like, clearly Lollipop was like the final one, in my personal opinion. I think everybody would be in agreement of that. But then once Damon sees like a Money Mike, he clearly got his eyes set on him. This whole thing is funny sequence with that. But while Money Mike is trying to use the bathroom, he's clearly, Craig is trying to hook up with Donna. But thanks to Day who breaks in because he's trying to hook up with Donna instead. Clearly is not really interested in her like the same way Craig is. Even still, if there was like a fourth film, I doubt Donna would ever show up again, maybe as a cameo. But clearly Debbie, once again, as I mentioned in the previous reviews of the other Friday films, is the one that should be like the main person that hooks up with Craig, because they two have better chemistry. I think Donna has slightly more chemistry than Carla was in the second film. But even still, it's just like it almost seems like they're just there. And then you also get this other sob story about, she got, it's the tale as old as time, with like girls, mixing up with guys that he shouldn't be, because clearly Money Mike is mistreating her and she's tolerating it. Clearly she's got a good head on her shoulders, but it's like, clearly I don't want to put the blame on her because it's probably other X factors, but clearly it's down to choice and responsibility and the onus on her part. It's like, clearly you were trying to move to a new spot and get like a start, like a new life, trying to do something with your life, but you got mixed up and roped up with Money Mike, who clearly you don't like him talking to you any kind of way, but it's like at a certain point it's your fault. I'm sorry. Even back then, I thought it was kind of weird for someone who's clearly very intelligent, that should not tolerate this kind of talk. Clearly, she should be like running her own business or something like that. It's that whole entire thing. I can't feel that much sympathy for her. But anyway, people are starting complaining because like they only have one bathroom, and clearly, well, Money Mike is dealing with Damon, who's about to assault him. He takes some pliers to his private regions, and pushes him out through the entire. I can't even imagine. I'm pretty sure there's like a deleted scene or something like that, because they cut out the whole part of, because can you imagine the embarrassment, the level of embarrassment on both parties, because clearly you can assume what the worst, and it's like and the party's still going despite, because if you're at a party and somebody's coming out of the bathroom with pliers to another person's private parts, going through the entire party, the party will stop and they all will be crowding around outside to see what's going on, but they just stay in the house. It's like that realistically would not be the case, because you'll be interested in what the heck is going on. So Craig is trying to talk the whole situation down. It's like, because he's Money Mike's telling Donna to like set up the car so he can have Craig grab the pliers so he can have the moment to run to the car and get out of this whole entire situation. But Craig is like, okay, everybody's ready? Ready. We're gonna count to three. They're like 1, 2, 3, and Craig tried to like hold on to the pliers so Money Mike can get away, but not only Donna speeds off the car and leaves him behind to his fate, Damon pushes Craig aside and starts chasing after him. And this is like a former football player who I'm shocked that Money Mike is just narrowly avoiding capture essentially, but B, he's running in dress shoes, which is, if you ever wore dress shoes and try to run in those, is very difficult. Of course, I guess the emergency situation that he's in, he ignores all that, but even still, he should have gone far, which I imagine probably he didn't get far, because he probably more than likely not only got captured but beat up to to a pulp. But this is a guy who played football. He can easily catch up to this little guy. He wouldn't gotten far. Anyway, while Craig and Day watching as Damon's chasing down Money Mike, they notice across the street Ricky Smiley is still robbing other people's houses, and he's going to his little hideaway. And here's the thing: this same criminal lives not too far in the vicinity of their place, and is, couldn't believe the convenience of this, to where like the said criminal who robbed their place lives just blocks away from them. So they ambush him, and he manages to slip away, and they chasing him down. And once again, another convenience. They end up, he's running inside the house belonging to said old lady who brought her grandsons to come beat up Craig and Day, who is also getting chased down by this old man with a shotgun, played by Mike Epps, and they all running through all these obstacles and everything like that. And it's like they all live in this kind of close-knit neighborhood. It's not even close-knit. It's like, what are the convenience of this? They should. It's like the odds of this, because how did they never come across each other before? To where they, because it's, who knows how long could they've been here for a good period in this apartment, to where they had this kind of weird rapport with Miss Pearlie, uh, to where they got like some antagonistic feelings towards each other. But when the old ladies, felt hassled, they should have, recognized these two being in the neighborhood, and those guys should be knocking on these guys' doors, or at least keeping a watchful eye or something like that. Because like, if they've been here for a while in this neighborhood, they should have come across each other. So it's like, if they couldn't catch them at the shopping center, they just would have been waiting out for them in front of the apartment complex. But anyway, they finally chase the thief down after he gets hit by Pinky's limo, coincidentally, and they tied him up, got all their stuff, including their rent money, and they tied him up for the cops to come pick him up. Craig kept dating, and there's a little epilogue, wrapping the story up in a nice little bow, narration from Ice Cube, whereas like, the thief is getting put away in jail. Damon's still chasing Money Mike through the streets. Keeping, Day busy with the two girls that Pinky brought over earlier, Cinnamon and the army chick. And then he called Donna back over to come back, and they proceed to hook up. And that's where the movie ends. Like I said, I mean, it's a serviceable film, but like I said, the other two films probably stand up a little bit higher, but it still has some qualities that still you get laughs out of. You cannot say you still wouldn't enjoy this. I highly recommend you check out all three Friday films, but of course, the first one still holds up. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you thought of all the three Friday films, what you liked or disliked about Friday After Next, who was your favorite characters of all the Friday series cast members. Am I wrong on certain things, or like what do you agree with me on? Let's try to get these my Friday reviews to like 100 likes each at the very least. Share this with your friends. Even though I couldn't review this for Christmas, I'll still put it on my Christmas movie review list regardless. But it's also gonna be like on my Black History Month movie review. So we got 3 in 1 this Friday. Because I want to do it back to back. But what's the next week? It'll be like a don't know if I'll do like 2 in 1 week next week, but next week it will be, it's gonna be like single stuff. How many weeks we got? We got like 2 more weeks. Well, technically 3. 2 weeks and a half of February left. So we're probably going to have to do 2 in 1 each week if we can. So next week will be primarily like a romantic kind of stuff. Well, yeah. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So we got like still a couple of romantic films and more African American centered films for the Black History Month and of course Valentine's Day. But anyway, I will see you guys in just a little bit. I'll be starting my Hogwarts Legacy walkthrough, as well as more Forspoken, as well as more Fire Emblem Engage gameplay all through tonight. So yeah, look forward